Good day, everyone. Hope everyone is well, doing good out there, and staying safe. More importantly, staying safe. And you are watching and protecting your babies and your children. All right? And this devil right here on the screen, right here. All right? Let's read up on this devil right here, Robert Carter. All right? He's a local pastor in Houston, charged with assaulting an underage family member, also said to have had a child with her when she was just 14 years old. He did not take a plea deal in court today. The case now goes to trial on February 21st, 2025, next year. He is pleading not guilty, and our hope is people will presume him innocent. Pastor Robert L. Carter's attorney, Eric Davis, told the news station KPRC2. We first brought you the story last year in October after the allegations against Pastor Carter surfaced. Monday night, another one of the alleged victims' family members who spoke out against Carter back then is speaking to us again. Well, he's been back and forth to court over the last year, said the family member, who we are not identifying to protect the alleged victim's identity. Carter, who was a pastor and bishop, was charged with continued sexual abuse of a child and sexual assault of a child aged 14 to 17. How could you show your face in a church where you profess to keep the word or speak the word of God, said the alleged victim's family member. He says Carter abused the girl some 600 times, starting when she was just 7 years old, then got her pregnant when she was 14. He says the girl gave birth in a closet. Then Carter took the baby and dropped him off at a fire station. Now, this is supposed to be a man of God, a pastor and a bishop, right? I mean, it's horrific for one, but it's been waiting on the judicial system to step in and do what they can do, the family member said. Shortly after being charged last year, Carter posted a $200,000 bond. I wonder where he got the money. That's probably from all those tithes that people pay, right? The alleged victim's family member we've been speaking to says the baby she had, now 6 years old, was adopted by a loving family. That child is in the best place possible, he said. As for the alleged victim herself, she was just tired. She was tired of being afraid, the family member said. The alleged victim's loved one adds, she's been working with the prosecutor and working to heal from the trauma. I've never met anyone, a woman stronger than that woman there. I've never met a woman who, knowing the facts, can get up every day and not go crazy, he said. In addition to getting justice for his loved one, the family member hopes this story motivates other victims of sexual abuse to come forward. This is what I mean when I say at the end of all my videos to protect our babies and our children and our women, that they're under attack. This is what I mean. This is just another example of what I mean. This is someone who was trusted in the community, in the church, a pastor and a deacon, who probably people looked up to and looked to for guidance. Supposed to be a man of God, but we throw that word God around, right? But my question is, which God was he serving? Because there's multiple gods, right? That's why in the Old Testament, right, It reads, "For I am a jealous God." Right? There's multiple gods. I am a jealous God. Do not serve any gods before me. That's what it says in the Old Testament. There are multiple gods. Just because somebody say the word God, doesn't mean that they're serving and talking about a loving, benevolent God. They could be talking about a malevolent, wicked God. There's multiple gods. All right? We are in spiritual warfare. And we have to learn that these devils come in all different skin tones, heights, sizes, whatever have you. And adults, even as children. Yes. Because any vessel, physical vessel, can be possessed and taken over. If you do not know how to protect yourself and keep your doors and windows closed. What I mean by doors and windows, I'm talking about making sure you are protected spiritually, so that no spirits, especially malevolent, wicked entities or spirits or energy, could come into your field, your toroidal field, and possess you. This is spiritual warfare. You have to learn the right knowledge and learn how to protect yourself and your loved ones. It's important. Now, let's move on. Let's talk about the Catholic Church now, who have a history of abusing children. Go back many, many years. In fact, this is their culture. LA Catholic Church payouts for clergy abuse top 1.5 billion. Let me read that again. LA Catholic Church payouts for clergy abuse top 1.5 billion with the B, billion, with new record settlement. All right. This story by the LA Times was published back last month, October 16th. Right? The Archdiocese of Los Angeles had previously paid $740 million to victims in various settlements, bringing the total payout to over $1.5 billion. Archdiocese officials have said the church has made great strides to prevent abuse. Really? More than 300 priests who worked in the Archdiocese in Los Angeles have been accused in public records of sexually abusing minors. Wow. In what could be the closing chapter in the landmark legal battle, the Archdiocese of Los Angeles has agreed to pay $880 million to victims of clergy abuse dating back decades in the largest settlement involving the Catholic Church. Attorneys for 1,353 people who alleged that they suffered horrific abuse at the hands of local Catholic priests, reached a settlement after months of negotiations with the archdiocese. The agreement caps a quarter century of litigation against the most populous archdiocese in the United States. The settlement leaves only a few lawsuits pending against the church in Los Angeles, attorneys for the victims say. The archdiocese had previously paid $740 million to victims in various settlements and had pledged to better protect its church members, so this settlement will put the total payout at more than $1.5 billion. These survivors have suffered for decades in the aftermath of the abuse. Dozens of the survivors have died. They are aging, and many of those with knowledge of the abuse within the church are too. It was time to get this resolved, said attorney Morgan Stewart, who led the settlement negotiations. Attorney Mike Reck of Jeff Anderson and Associates said, "This is a measure of justice. There can never be full justice. These brave survivors brought it to protect kids in the future." Archbishop Jose H. Gomez approved the settlement, which will be funded by Archdiocese investments, accumulated reserves, bank financing, and other assets. According to the Archdiocese, certain religious orders and others named in the litigation will also cover some of the costs of the settlement. "I'm sorry for every one of these incidents from the bottom of my heart," Gomez said in an announcement to parishioners. "My hope is that this settlement will provide some measure of healing for what these men and women have suffered." He said it provides just compensation to the survivor victims of these past abuses while also allowing the Archdiocese to continue to carry out our ministries. The Archdiocese enforced a strict background and reporting requirements, Gomez said. It has established extensive training programs for staff and volunteers to protect young people. Today, as a result of these reforms, new cases of sexual misconduct by priests and clergy involving minors are rare in the Archdiocese, he said. No one who has been found to have harmed a minor is serving in ministry at this time. I do not believe that. And I promise we will remain vigilant. Sure you will. Still, victims have continued to come forward with decades-old claims. For more than 2 decades, the church has been roiled by allegations that one-time leaders mishandled abuse cases, sometimes moving clergy known to have sexually abused minors to other parishes rather than removing them from the priesthood and informing law enforcement. Yeah, they just send them someplace else. That's what they've been doing. Again, I said it, and I mean it, and do your research. It's a culture. Do your research on the Holy Roman Catholic Church or Empire. Right? Gomez succeeded longtime Cardinal Roger Mahony, whose handling of the scandal drew fierce criticism and undercut his moral authority as one of America's most prominent Roman Catholic leaders. In 2013, documents were released that showed Mahony and a top advisor plotted to conceal child molestation by priests from law enforcement. Cardinal Mahony is the center of a lot of these allegations, Stewart said. His years of covering up allowed more children to suffer. As part of the new settlement, Stewart said the Archdiocese will disclose more of the files it kept that documented abuse by priests. Among the clergymen cited in the lawsuits that were settled Wednesday, Father Michael Baker is one of the priests with the most victims. He confessed to abusing boys to Mahony in 1986, but was allowed to return to the ministry after receiving therapy. However, authorities say he went on to molest more children. Authorities believe that Baker molested more than 40 children during his years as a priest. In 2009, the U.S. Attorney in Los Angeles launched a federal grand jury investigation into Mahony and the church's handling of abuse allegations. The investigation did not result in any criminal charges. But during decades of civil litigation, it was revealed that the archdiocese went to extreme lengths to ensure that abuse was not reported to the police. Memos written in 1986 and 1987 by Mahoney and Thomas J. Curry, then the archdiocese chief advisor on sex abuse cases, revealed in church leaders' own words a desire to keep authorities from discovering that children were being molested. They was covering it up. After Baker admitted his abuse of young boys, Curry wrote in a memo, "I see a difficulty here in that if he were to mention his problem with child abuse, it would put the therapist in the position of having to report him. He cannot mention his past problem," Curry added. Mahoney's response to the memo was handwritten across the bottom of the page. "Sounds good. Please proceed." Wow. 2 decades would pass before authorities gathered enough information to charge Baker with abuse. Baker pleaded guilty in criminal court to abusing 2 boys in 2007 and was sentenced to 10 years in prison. Wow. Slap on the wrist, if you ask me. He was released in 2011 because of credit for time served in county jail and good behavior. So he was sentenced in 2007 to 10 years and was released 4 years later in 2011. Disgusting. It was the Baker case that largely led to Mahoney's downfall. Baker told the Times in 2001 that he had informed Mahoney of his sexual attraction to children in 1986. "I told Mahoney I had a problem," he said. Mahoney did not ask for specifics and appeared willing to let him remain in the priesthood, Baker said. He was very solicitous and understanding and was glad I brought it up. George Neville Rucker was another priest who faced abuse allegations and was the subject of several cases settled. Wednesday, Stewart said lawyers allege he had at least 41 victims from the late 1940s to the 1980s and was accused of R-wording girls as young as 7. Wow. Disgusting. Rucker was forced to retire as a priest in 1987. He remained a chaplain until 2002 when he was charged with 29 counts of molesting girls. Fearing he would try to flee prosecutions, authorities plucked him off a cruise ship bound for Russia. The charges were dropped in 2003 after a U.S. Supreme Court ruling determined some cases, including Rucker's, were beyond the statute of limitations. You see what they do? In 1991, Rucker met with the victim in Seattle and attributed the abuse he'd committed to a steroid medication he was taking and to God. A meeting attendee wrote in a letter to the Archdiocese of Los Angeles. The attendee's name was redacted in the letter. He blamed it on steroids that he was taking and God. Again, which God do they serve? There's multiple gods. Well, God called me into the priesthood and God doesn't make mistakes, so I assume all of this happened as part of God's plan for the victim's salvation. Now, devils. And this is what Rucker told his victim, one of his victims. "It's the first time I ever heard someone lay responsibility for their sexual abuse of someone at God's doorstep," the person wrote in the letter, adding that they were concerned because it's rare to see a sex offender with only one victim. In 2014, the Los Angeles Archdiocese settled what it believed would be the last of its pending priest molestation lawsuits and imposed a series of reforms. However, a change in state law in 2019 that gave adults more time to file lawsuits over childhood sexual abuse resulted in a new wave of litigation against the archdiocese. The settlements have been financially crushing for Catholic dioceses across the country. To finance them, they've sold vast swaths of church property and, in some cases, exhausted or relinquished insurance coverage for past and future abuse claims. More than 24 Catholic dioceses, including those in San Diego, Oakland, and San Francisco, have filed for bankruptcy in recent years. In 2019, the LA Archdiocese announced a record $8 million settlement with an 18-year-old former Catholic school student who was molested by a coach. It was the largest individual settlement by the Archdiocese in a sex abuse case. Her attorney said concerns about the teacher's conduct were ignored. So there you have it, folks. There you have it. All right? And that's just Los Angeles. Okay? This is a worldwide problem when it comes to the Catholic Church. Again, do your research. Do your research. Right? Do your research on the Holy Roman Catholic Church. Okay? And go down that rabbit hole and find out how deep that rabbit hole goes. Like I said, this is a culture. Right? As a matter of fact, I have another video on my channel that I've done months ago. I forget the country, but about the Catholic Church and their history of abuse. And this is something that's not talked about. In fact, with this story right here, I've only seen one person talk about this. Shout out to 78, the General on 78 Sports TV. He did a video on this topic, on this story right here. So shout out to the General, 78 Sports TV. He covered this topic. He did a video on this. But other than that, I haven't heard much else talking about this. Right? But I'm making a video about this now to link up to this Houston pastor. Just to say again, spiritual warfare. This is what this is. Spiritual warfare. Okay? We got to stop being so trusting of people. You can't even trust your family member these days. And I've said before in other videos, you got to have a spiritual eye. You got to be able to identify the energy or the spirit of the individual, right? Who you come across or who is close to you. Again, it could be a family member. But if that family member is not protecting themselves spiritually, right? They're not protecting their energy, and they get possessed or taken over by an malevolent force, you will start to see a change. You will start to see a change in their behavior, a change in what they're doing, how they do things, how they talk, everything. Even the eyes. You have to watch the eyes. The eyes tell all. They say the eyes are the windows to the soul, and it's true. Some folks out there, you look in their eyes and the eyes are just empty, or you see a darkness. You have to be able to identify the energy of the individual that you are dealing with, and then you must proceed and act accordingly. Again, this is spiritual warfare, right? We can't look at someone, gone are those days, you can't look at someone and say, well, that's so-and-so or that's so-and-so, I could trust that person, I could trust it. No, you can't. You have to always be on guard, right? And you always have to have your spiritual eye open. Okay? Because you have to be able to see the change in behavior. You have to be able to see the change, feel the change. You have to be able to see and feel that energy, their energy. But if your spiritual eye is closed and you do not know how to see and feel that energy, then you are at great risk. You putting not only yourself in danger, but your children in danger. And there are so many stories out here right now about people getting hurt or worse, right? Like the young man who murdered his family. Okay? The story of the young man who he took out his whole family. His father, his mother, his siblings. Right? Because he wanted to spend the night out with his girlfriend. You see? So you got to stop looking at people as, well, you know what, that's my mother, that's my father, that's my sister, that's my brother, that's my daughter, that's my son, or that's my best friend, you know, or that's somebody that's my partner right there. We went to school together, we grew up together. I can trust him, or I can trust her. Because again, if they are not protecting their energy, if they're not doing the work, going within and learning how to protect their energy and keep those doors closed to their spirit, their energy, they're wide open. We have to learn this. Okay? Because it's important. It's very important. We got to be able to identify these malevolent entities, the malevolent, this wicked energy, these devils. We got to be able to identify them. All right? But once again, this is what I mean when I say our children, our babies, our women are under attack. This is what I mean. We're under attack. This is, again, spiritual warfare. It's real. It's real. Because at any moment in your life, whoever's watching this video, someone close to you can become a devil. And if you do not have your spiritual eye open and don't know how to see and feel that energy, that shift in their energy, that change, you're in trouble. And that's the truth. Okay? Because how often happens a lot of times also is when these spirits take over a vessel, and by vessel I mean a body, a physical body, they're looking to cause harm. They're looking to destroy. They're looking to hurt people. And oftentimes, once the damage is done, that spirit, malevolent spirit or entity, will move on to another and find another host. So that's why you see stories a lot of time where someone don't even remember what happened or what they've done. Because they're left holding the bag. In a sense, they're victims as well. although they still is held accountable, they must still be held accountable for what they've done, what their physical body have done. Right? But it's all because most out there do not know how to protect themselves spiritually. And they're just wide open. And this conversation gets really, really deep. Right? But I'm going to cut this video here. Love yourself unconditionally. Shout out to all of you, all of my subscribers. And please, please protect your babies, protect your children. Look out for one another. Watch your backs out there. Right? The threat is real. Spiritual warfare is real. We're under attack. Okay? And be safe out there. This is King B News and Views. To the next video. Peace.